Hello and welcome to The Law According To. This is the podcast where we follow the careers of legal professionals. And today I'm pleased to be joined by Keri Castillo, who is a private client solicitor from Ackroyd Legal. Keri tells me about how medical was actually her first choice of a career profession, but then she realised she may have to change that due to her reaction to seeing blood. She talks about the challenges of being at uni during lockdown, but also how having a mentor, a really good mentor, and a business coach has really helped her career. Drop a like on our video, subscribe to our channel, and share with as many people as you can, because it really helps us spread the word here at The Law According To. This is a great episode. This is The Law According To Keri Castillo. Hello and welcome to The Law According To. I'm Mike Minnis from 2M Legal, and today I'm joined by Keri Castillo, a private client solicitor from Ackroyd Legal. Welcome, Keri.
Thanks for having me.
So the podcast is all about your career story and your journey to date. So, as I always say, let's start at the very beginning. What made you interested in law in the very first place?
I don't really know. So I wanted to be a doctor, and I went to college and I did various different biology, etc. And I just didn't like it. I was like, oh no. My mum was like, oh, persist with it. I think I went to medical school for 2 weeks, and then it's not for me. I think at one point I did pass out when I saw blood, and I was like, this is not for me.
Okay, yeah.
I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do. My mum is very business savvy, so I don't know, I think I get it from her. And I was like, oh, what can I do? And I just thought, oh, we'll just do law. Let's just see kind of if I enjoy it, what kind of happens. I did law at A-level, so I did really enjoy that. But yeah, so I kind of just got into it that way, I guess. I'm a very organised person, so my mum was like, this will be really good for you. Let's do that. And then I went through college and then went to uni. I didn't know what uni I wanted to go to. I wasn't sure if I definitely wanted to go to uni. I think I did university before there was I didn't really know much about the different ways of getting into law, so I thought university was kind of the only option. Whereas now you have solicitor apprenticeships and things like that. So I think looking back, if I were to do it again, I'd probably go through a solicitor apprenticeship, just because hands-on experience is so valuable and so key. My job anyway, it may be different obviously for different areas of law, but yeah, so I kind of just got into it that way. I went to uni, thought, okay, yeah, I'm quite good at this, but I didn't really know I definitely wanted to go into it until I had my first legal role as a paralegal, so I still wasn't sure until that role, I guess.
And what was it about when you started that paralegal role? Maybe it wasn't immediately, but what was it that made you think, well, actually, yeah, this is the right choice?
So I didn't know what area of law I wanted to go into, so I applied for a firm who had different areas of law. I just had, I don't know, I did a bit of litigation, I did a bit of corporate, private client, because I think it just clicked a bit more. But yeah, I had a really, really good mentor. I had a really good teacher who taught me kind of the foundations of around private client. He was probably the reason that I'm still in private client today. He was really, really good. And yeah, so that was that really.
It's always good to have someone who actually inspires you and like you say, a good mentor that makes a huge difference, doesn't it? And so, other than the mentor, what was it about private client that you particularly enjoyed over the other aspects? Was it maybe more client facing, or I don't know?
I think because I got to see hands. The law firm that I was a paralegal at, I had really hands-on experience. So I was meeting with clients. I was having my own caseload, obviously it being overseen. So I think it was just that hands-on experience that I really enjoyed. I really enjoy speaking to clients. There's so many different people that you meet as well. And everyone's situation is always different. You're never going to have the same client who's, I don't know, married and got 2 kids. You see such a vast stream of clients come in and out the door, and it's just, yeah, I think that's probably why, because you do get involved and you building those long-lasting relationships with that client it means a lot, because it means that they I don't know, they look, they support you with what you do, and they understand you and you understand them. It's you kind of build that relationship and that trust.
Yeah, yeah. And those relationships are quite key. Obviously, in other areas of law, it's a little bit more, you probably don't have, let's say, for example, in I don't know, conveyancing or something along those lines, it's obviously a transactional relationship that you have. Obviously, you'd have relationships in different areas, but with the actual end user, it's very transactional. You move on and then it's the next people. Whereas, like you say, with yours, it's a longer term kind of partnership in a way, isn't it, that you'd have with your clients?
No, completely. And I think that there's clients now that I saw at the start of my career who are still with me today. So it's interesting, obviously, going through that journey with them and making sure that, one, that their assets are okay, but two, that they're doing well as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so far, it sounds as if your kind of choices, although obviously you had some choices to make, and it wasn't necessarily the original path that you maybe wanted to go down, obviously with the guidance of your mother and then having your mentor, it sounds like it's been a fairly smooth journey up until this point. But I imagine there was some bumps in the road at some stage. What would you say was your biggest challenge getting to where you are now?
I think I don't know if it's my biggest, but I think my first major challenge was I did my final year of uni and my LPC during COVID. So that was really credits to the university. They obviously did the best they can in unknown territories and things like that, but it was really, really difficult. I also worked 3 jobs at the same time because we were in lockdown, I couldn't move. I had bills to pay because otherwise I wouldn't have any accommodation, because at that point, being a final year student to the LPC, so that was really, really difficult. So I think that was probably my first big hurdle, I guess. But then it was going from working in 3 different retail jobs or behind a bar or something like that to then going into a more professional environment was really big challenge. There's certain things that you obviously have to do and you can't say, or I'm very black and white, so sometimes it can get me in trouble.
Okay.
I realise that you can't tell the client that, I don't know, you took your cat to the vet or something like that. It's just not, they don't want to hear it. Some clients do, some clients are actually really interested in them, but but others are just like, no, this is what we want. But yeah, I think that's probably a professional hurdle. I think currently where I am in my career, I think it's a lot of responsibility and it's a lot to handle. And I think not everyone, but a lot of people glamorize being in the law or sitting in the office and going out on a Wednesday or a Thursday to the pub and doing that, or you have the other extreme where you work until 1-2 o'clock in the morning. I think it's really try and get your own balance of, am I doing enough? Should I do more? I think that's something that's really hard to, even now, sometimes I think it's a little bit of an imposter syndrome where you just don't know if you're making it, but I seem to think I am. So
what do you have as a gauge for that? Do you have somebody that you can go to and say, look, maybe I'm feeling a little bit either overwhelmed or underworked, or am I actually at the right sort of level doing exactly what I need to be doing for the expectation of the clients, but also the firm?
So probably my go-to place, or I wouldn't say person, I'd say a place I go to, is actually LinkedIn, because I've connected with so many other people who are at the same stage as me or later down the line in their careers, and just a lot of people do give really good advice on there, or they'll say something, they've been just stuck on this, or they're having this problem, and then other people will comment and say, well, I'm having that problem too. So I feel like it's just made me realise that I'm not necessarily on my own with that. But I also decided to get a business coach, so kind of like a mentor more of how I want my career to go and where I want it to go to, and this to get there, I guess. So that's been really, really helpful. Yeah, really, really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing actually, isn't it? Because generally with a business coach, they tell you the things you know anyway. It's just they almost A, give you accountability, but B, kind of put your thoughts, for me, when we had a business coach, it kind of puts your thoughts in order. You know what you want to do, and they just help you prioritize and actually action what you need to action. But yeah, I think that's a great choice to have done that. Was that led by your business-minded mum?
Yes, it was.
I could sense it. As soon as you said that, I thought, there you go. That's been recommended.
Why don't you just have a conversation and just talk about it? It is good sometimes to not have everything. Obviously, writing things down is really, really helpful. Sometimes you just need to talk to someone who's either dealt with that before or dealt with something similar, and it's just nice to sometimes talk about that and talk about what you're going through or what you need to do to get to a specific place, and just make it all align, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to kind of ask you about something you mentioned there about being in your final year in lockdown. My son's just graduating now, and he had his first kind of year and a half, I guess, was mostly, although he was on campus, it was mostly online. How did that affect? So were your first couple of years actually prior to the pandemic, was it?
Yes, my last year was when we went into our very first lockdown. So that were completely normal was if you were just going to university.
Okay. And what did you find were the biggest kind of, if you like, educational challenges from being in the normal environment, if you like, to suddenly being kind of isolated, doing all everything online and what have you? How did you find that impacted your ability to learn?
I think it's really difficult because we used to have study groups and things like that, so we couldn't really have that. The university did the best that they could at that time, and I think that they did a really good job. It just made them excel things a lot quicker. So things like library documents, they were all uploaded. I think the university, they managed to get a lot of their things online as quickly as possible. So that really, the lecturers and things like that were very responsive over emails and really helpful. I think the way that the course changed was a bit difficult. So in some exams you would have like coursework, or I can't remember what it's called now, but like essays and things that you'd have to submit plus an exam. Some of the exams online were quite frustrating because you're in uni accommodation and not everyone's on the same timetable as you. So if you're sitting an exam at, I don't know, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's a sunny day and your friends are going to the pub, it is really difficult to try and concentrate. So I think that was like really, really hard. But it was just the adaptation of trying to learn differently and all online. Like the study groups, I think that really did affect how I learned and the speed of how I learned things, because it's all well and good FaceTiming everyone, but you can't, we used to all sit around a table and someone used to be like, this question, or do you have any notes on this? And you could just chuck it across the table rather than having to wait for someone to email it over and then go through explaining their version of notes, because it's going to be how you type out your notes. So it's just filling in the gaps, really.
It's interesting because obviously you were in that transition period whereby you were studying in a normal environment and then suddenly went online. Slightly different for my son because he knew it was going to be like that when he started. But I feel obviously in reflection at the time we knew it was difficult for students across the board, at all levels. But I think it's quite interesting to see how that obviously affected you. And you seem like, from what you've said, that with the LinkedIn groups and the study groups and things like that you do kind of thrive off the the interaction with other people. So I imagine for someone like yourself that must have had quite a big impact, both from your educational point of view, but also from a mental point of view as well. I imagine that was probably quite a challenge.
I think when I was doing my undergraduate degree, the university made the decision to just say, no, everyone is going online, regardless if we come out of lockdown, everyone will continue online. Whereas when I did my LPC, 1 week we were allowed in, the next we weren't, and then another week we were, and then another week we all had to stay at home. It was a bit of a shambles, to be honest. It was and there was not a lot of support for the LPC. I would say that there wasn't. It wasn't great, considering we'd already had, I think, a year of COVID or however long it was before I started. So they'd already probably had those things in place. I think that I really, really struggled. At one point, I think I was going to drop out of the LPC completely because I was like, I can't cope with the LPC. It's a big jump. I don't think universities do prepare you for how big of a jump the LPC is. So that I really, really struggled with. But I'm glad I stuck with it, because I wouldn't be here otherwise. But
Yeah, absolutely. Just sounds a bit chaotic, kind of the or a lack of planning. Is like you say, doing one thing and changing it the next week and what have you. But like you say, with the universities where they just had a blanket, this is how we're going to do it. Then it kind of, at least you know, or it may not be ideal, but at least you know exactly where you stand and what your kind of plan is, and you plan around that. Okay, we've talked a lot about kind of obstacles. Obviously, you've had many successes along the way as well. What particular successes stand out for you?
I would say career-wise, probably not that long after I qualified, I was awarded the best choice for the UK South Solicitor. So that was really, really good for me, because I was, it's just a bit of a full circle moment of everything that obviously you've done to get there, and then you get that, and it's just, it's exciting. But I think
amazing.
Client-wise, probably jumping on files where I'm not necessarily the best person, but still winning that file. So, for example, when I first started, my specialty was primarily probate, wills, and powers of attorney. But as I through qualification and just where I would like my career to go, I'm more focused now on cross-border estates. So estates they may live, I don't know, in Dubai or Australia or Spain, France, have assets in the UK or vice versa. And I think it's difficult because there's not many people that specialise in that area. You can get obviously probate practitioners who will do, I don't know, estates abroad, but when it comes to litigious matters, so if there's something to do with the will or something like that, there's not a lot of people who would kind of get involved with that. Some of them find it a bit messy, but I kind of thrive off, like, okay, give me the mess and I'll see what I can sort out. This one case, and it was really, really big, and I thought, oh my goodness me, like, what have I done? Like, I'm probably not the best person to do this. But I just needed a kick up the backside, and then we won it. And I generally didn't think, and everyone told me who I'd spoken to was like, there is no chance that you are going to win this file. There is absolutely no chance. Because they'd all reviewed it, I actually reached out to a couple of my friends, and I said, look, these are the facts. What's your opinion? And they were like, well, I do this, this, and this. And I was like, but that's all in favour of the other side. That's not for me. But I think career-wise, that was probably my biggest win. So, yeah.
I think that makes it more satisfying, though, doesn't it? Much more satisfying when people are saying, well, this, even if they're trying to be positive and saying, oh, well, it's good experience to go for it, but realistically, you're not going to get it, and then you win. And you think, wow, okay, great, we're on board here, and it kind of gives you that bit of recognition, along with kind of like you say about awards and things like that. But those sort of situations give you great recognition and help with that sort of imposter syndrome sort of scenario that you talked about earlier. Gives you that affirmation, really, doesn't it, that you are good enough to be here and actually you're in the right place. Because look at this, other people have said I can't do this. And you have, so I think that's amazing. So thinking back to, and I think you kind of alluded to this a little bit at the beginning, but what would you say to people who are looking to be in your situation, maybe at the early stage of their career? What sort of advice would you give to them?
It's quite big coming from me, but have confidence in yourself. I think that's a big one. Another one would say is don't follow what everyone else is doing. Just do things at your own pace and do what you want to do. I was to be absolutely adamant that I wanted to be on the corporate ladder. I wanted to do corporate law. I wanted to work in a big magic circle firm, and training contract applications. Obviously, it's going to be different now because there's the SQE, but still have to apply. I'm not really sure about the ins and outs of that process. But don't overlook smaller firms, or don't overlook just don't have your mind set on being in the top of the top, because your main focus should be just be qualifying and getting that experience, because the likelihood of you getting, I've always said it, and it may not be true for people obviously that work in those firms, and I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but I've always thought that you will get so much more experience. The opportunity to network may be bigger in those bigger international firms, but the caseload and the client base that you can build at a small firm with your network is unmatched. I don't think I would have been here in my career with what I'm doing if I worked for a much bigger firm. I'm thankful that obviously now I am in a big international firm, I would say, yeah, don't always shut it off because that's what your friends are like. Oh, if they're saying, oh, well, you don't, I'm applying for this firm, why aren't you applying, kind of situation. Just follow your own path and do your own thing, I guess. But yeah, like, you can be happy for your friends, but just don't compare your journey to anyone else's.
Yeah, excellent. I think that's excellent advice, and I think that's true across life in general, isn't it? It's so easy nowadays for people to look at kind of online life or other people's journeys and think, well, this is what they've achieved in X amount of time, and why aren't I there? But it's just because they've taken different choices, and they may not have had the same sort of experiences as you. You can't compare like for like, can you? And as you say about the type of firm, we hear stories of some people who do go into big law firms, and it's just plays havoc on their mental health in a very short space of time because of the amount of pressure. But likewise, you also have people who obviously thrive in that environment and succeed. So, like you say, it's horses for courses. It's pick the path that's right for you, isn't it?
Yeah, completely. I think as well that it's really difficult with new social medias coming out and things like that. Everyone makes it really aesthetic and look all nice. Realistically, you just have to think what's best for you, and don't be afraid to try out different areas of the law. I think if you've got your heart set on one, don't be afraid to then go for something that's not necessarily what you wanted to go into, because like I said, I was adamant that I wanted to be corporate, but I ended up in private client. And I think I'm very very happy in private client. I don't think I've moved to a different area now that I'm in it.
Yeah, there's no what if in your mind.
No.
Good. Okay, let's end on a really positive. And again, you've kind of had this throughout as well, so I think I know where this is going. But what is it you really love about working in law? What is it that drives you and makes you feel passionate about what you're doing?
I would say that how dynamic it is. Like, no client, like I said before, like no client is the same. And building like long-lasting relationships, whether that's with your clients or with, I don't know, people that I didn't even know were in that area of law. So accountants, financial advisors. There's a lovely little care home who invite me every couple of weeks for a tea and coffee morning, and I absolutely love it. And I would have never have thought that I was going to go into the law, and every other Friday I'd go and sit in a care home with 50 other people and have a cup of tea and just have a chat. It's really, really nice. But yeah, like I said, never in a million years I think I'd do that. I thought I'd be, I don't know, just somewhere completely different. But yeah, it's very dynamic. No day is ever the same. So it's keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, and if anybody would like to get hold of you to discuss any requirements they may have, or even if they want to just connect with you on LinkedIn, maybe share stories like you say you do with a community on LinkedIn, how can they do that, Keri?
Yes, they can probably follow me on LinkedIn. It's probably the best one. I'm on there all day, every day. So
Okay.
They can message me on there. I think if you put the link in the comment box or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I think I'm sure it will come up. But yeah, if anyone wants to reach out, whatever stage you're at, I'm more than open for anyone to just pop me a message.
Excellent. That's brilliant. Well, thanks very much for sharing your story, Keri. It's been really interesting to hear your journey to date, and obviously, you've got a long way to go as yet. But I think there's a lot of things in there that people can pick up and take kind of inspiration from. Things such as taking your own career path, having a mentor to work with, business advisor or business coach to work with is really great advice. So thanks very much for coming on the podcast.
No worries. Thanks for having me.